My son wants to be a professional footballer.
Did you listen to the Hot Breakfast this morning? Here's what you missed.
I'm one of the people who got the worst grades you could possibly get in KCSE. I didn't even pick my certificate.
What did you get?
I got a C-, like a weak one.
Joining us live in the studio, looking very lovely. It's almost like a tribute to ORM.
Yes, complete with a head. Is it called regalia?
Regalia. It's like Goethe.
Buddha.
Regalia.
Regalia.
Okay. Dr. Jane Imbunya. She's a senior lecturer, Gaborone in University College of Law and Professional Studies. Dr. Imbunya, welcome to Hot 96.
Thank you so much.
Go closer to the mic. You can come closer. Yeah, there you go. Good to see you.
Good morning, Jeff.
Good
morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Good to have me on Hot 96.
You're looking quite lovely there.
For the hot breakfast show.
It is the hottest. So explain to us, is it Gaborone, as this man says, or is it Gaborone?
Actually, in Kenya, we say Gaborone, but in actual sense, it is Gaborone. That is the capital city of Botswana.
Story every single day about the people not embracing it as well as they should here in Kenya. And we're 5 years down the line.
Yes.
I mean, how come? Why hasn't it not been embraced as it should be?
You know, that question is very relative. It depends on who you are talking to. But as a specialist and an expert of curriculum, I can say without even blinking my eye that competency-based curriculum is the best thing that has ever happened to Kenya since independence. And I go further to say that it doesn't take a genius to actually see the need for CBC today. Education is supposed to solve the needs for the society. On every Kenyan's lips now, we talk about unemployment. If 844 is a good education system, why do we still have these soaring numbers of unemployment? Competency-based curriculum is an education system that does not just give the intellectual know-how. It's an education system that combines three things. We have got the knowledge, then we have got the skill, and how that skill can be transferred to real life. Something that 844 completely failed to do.
Maybe you can tell us at what point did we get to the point where we decided CBC is something that needs to be brought into the system?
Thank you so much. You know, right from the time we had the first Education Commission in Kenya, which was headed by Ominde, its mandate was to Kenyanize the education system. And as we see it today, the whole world, it's not only Kenya, the whole world is moving out from the old system.
Yes.
We talk about Vision 2030, employment, food security. How are we going to attain all these good intentions that we have for Vision 2030? Because as it is now, nothing seems to be moving. So the need for CBC has been informed by studies that have been carried out to clearly show that the 844 system has totally failed to respond to the need of the Kenyan society.
Would you say that maybe it has failed some people because there's a good number of people who went through that same education system, Jeff and I being one of them?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Hey, usiroke
Bro, I was 763.
Oh, that's the one before 844.
Yes.
And we turned out okay. So I guess maybe it caters for some people and doesn't cater for others instead of...
Nick, to answer your question, let me just give you, allow me please,
yes,
to just give you a brief background of the two philosophies that inform the two education systems. 844 system is pegged on an education philosophy known as behaviorism or traditionalism.
Okay.
This was experimented first by Ivan Pavlov on dogs, classical conditioning,
Okay.
whereby you are just conditioned, the learner is just conditioned. The learner is a blank slate, and at a state of tabula rasa, where you do not know anything. You come to school for the teachers just to glue some knowledge on you. How did Ivan Pavlov do this? He used a dog.
Okay.
And once the dog would hear the bell, then it starts salivating to be fed. That is exactly the type of education system we have. You are conditioned. From there, we had Thorndike, who ran the same experiment on 2 cats. Put them in a box, which is called the puzzle box, and the cat would meow and jump up and down, and by luck, it opens the door and gets food. Trial and error.
Yes.
Patapotea. That is the type of education system. That's the 844. Then it was augmented further by Burho Skinner, who tried to modify it and called it operant conditioning. He put 2 cats in the Skinner's box and put 2 buttons, 1 red button and a green button. So when the rat presses the red button, it gets a shock. That is negative reinforcement. When it presses the green button, it gets a pellet of food. And that is why we have the 844 system is a system of rewards. It's either you're punished for knowing or you're rewarded for not knowing. But CBC, if I could just maybe go a minute more, CBC is a system that was begun by so many other theorists, but among them I love to speak about 2. Jean Piaget, this out of a theory known as constructivism, and he experimented on his own children in the house. Jean Piaget is one of the renowned psychologists of all times, together with his wife, Valentine. And they discovered that every child has a gift, that every child is a winner. It's not about cognition. It's not all about the intellectual ability. Every child has a capability. Every child has a talent that has to be molded in one way or another, so that it makes that child earn a living. Further on, Lev Vygotsky picked on the same, and also, of course, trying to discount the behaviorist theory that informs the 844 system. And the whole world over, even the Montessori curriculums, they are all built on constructivism, which informs competency-based curriculum. And competency-based curriculum simply means what is the ability of every child. In other words, every child is a winner. Is it singing? Is it dancing? It's not all about mathematics, geography, and history.
Okay, Nick, I think you've just been told in no uncertain terms that you are completely uneducated.
I'm one of the people who got the worst grades you could possibly get in KCSE. I didn't even pick my certificate.
What did you get?
I got a C-, like a weak one.
and you're one among the many who managed to pull yourself.
I just looked at those guys and I said, I'm not taking this receipt home.
Like you said, it's patapotea.
It is patapotea.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
And Nick, you were just giving us an example. This past weekend, your daughter wanted some plasticine, or what do you call that?
It's called Play-Doh now. They're told to make a teeth mold.
Yes.
So I sent basically at 7 p.m. or 5:30 in the
On
evening.
Sunday.
That's when I managed to go and get it from.
So, Dr. the question is, okay, Nick, someone like Nick can afford that. You, Mama Mboga, you were told on Sunday afternoon that your daughter needs this. What?
Play-Doh, or plasticine for people who are born in 1930s.
Yes.
Some plasticine.
Yes.
You can't afford it. We can't afford it. It's too expensive, and there's too much being asked of parents.
That is what CBC is all about. CBC actually encourages parental involvement, because when we take our children to school, I like to give this very typical example. When you sharpen a knife, you have to sharpen it from both sides.
Yes.
So the child has to leverage on the support, the partnership between the parent and the teacher. In 844 system, it was very easy for the teacher to point the finger. The parent to point the finger at the teacher and say, my child has failed. CBC, we are talking about the ability of the child. The teacher has got a part to play. You, the parent, you have got a part to play. The teacher will identify the mathematics and the history. What about the needlework? It's you, the parent. And by the way, you should know that this is a gift. Your child is a gift.
Yes.
What makes it so difficult to spend some time with your gift?
What if you're busy? What if you're, parents
Too busy for your child, but you could make a child.
Thank you so much, Nick. Too busy for your child, and then we leave it for the teacher, and tomorrow we have the kind of society that we have. Parental involvement is core when it comes to CBC. However, CBC demands that the teachers use what is within their environment. Mm-hmm. It is context-based. And I'm very happy because, was it on Sunday? I read something that Professor Ngondo had written in the newspapers, reminding teachers that please let us also not put so much pressure onto the parents. But that does not mean that you as a parent do not have a responsibility towards your child's education. CBC is the best thing. How is the teacher identifies this talent, this ability, and then you work together so that you get the best out of this child. Like I said, in CBC, every child is a winner. Who is winning more with this child?
Sometimes the teachers are so underpaid, they don't even have time to spot talent, Daktari. And they don't care for some of them, not all. Not all. Some teachers are very good, but some, they don't care. They're just there for a salary, or they're hardly there.
And I'm very happy, Jeff, when you bring up that point, because these are the teething problems that we have to attend to. But you see, the problem now with most of us Kenyans, we know that the goal is very noble. So we do not have to kill that goal. Let us deal with the challenges that we have. And I would like to let our listeners know that a curriculum is implemented for us to observe and come to know what the challenges are so that we make it better. So like what Jeff is saying here is what many Kenyans will talk about, but that is just a teething problem and it should be handled. Let us not throw away the bath water with the baby. We are midwifing a new process, yes. And we all have a part to play. But the moment we start being so negative, like I've said in other shows, it's time to critique and not to criticize. Let us see what's good in it, and where are the problems. That's now critiquing. Where are the problems? So that me and you, it's not only for the government, me and you as the society should come in and see how best we can make it work. But it is a noble curriculum.
Most of the parents are from that generation, so maybe you can talk to them directly to try and understand that whatever you have at home is what can be used, and stop talking to your child maybe earlier in the week about what is expected over the weekend, and then they implement. Because I see people complaining that and they use jokes like ati mtoto amekuja saa 2 usiku sana anasema anataka soda na kunanyesha. But what were you doing on Friday evening and Saturday during the day?
Yes, actually the essence of CBC is for of course the parents as well as the teachers to make use of the immediate environment of the child. And when I gave you a brief background of the philosophy that informs both the two education systems, I told you that Piaget, who's among the founders of constructivism, which is the theory that informs CBC, did it from home. Because within your environment, you have it's very possible for you to manipulate what there is for the child to be a problem solver, a critical thinker. So what I cannot agree more with you, that parents, I don't think we are asked to do anything that is totally abstract, because even during our days, when we were still children, we would come up and make small matope houses and so on.
Bangles.
What are we trying to do? We are sharpening the skill. We are trying to get the theory into practice. So let us just try to manipulate the environment. And that's why I love CBC, because CBC has brought Montessori to that child in Kibera, to the child in Runda, to the child in Moyale, to the child in Mandera. The natural setting of the child, that's where learning begins.
And those who don't know what Montessori is, quickly explain.
Of course, the Montessori, today Montessori, I think these are the most expensive schools that we have. And it would be every parent's dream to take their child to Montessori. Montessori is just a model of curriculum. It was begun by a lady called Artemisi Maria Montessori, whereby learning is pushed back to the student. The student has to discover knowledge, has to construct knowledge. But this was only offered in these special schools because in our public schools and in many schools, learning is teacher-centered. So CBC is trying to bring, and we know that in Montessori they get the best. CBC is bringing that Montessori back by telling the teacher, now you have to ignite the 3 domains of teaching. Cognition, which means how much can a child comprehend what they have learned. The second domain is affection. What makes them attach some significance, some value to what they're learning is through the tasks. And then the third one is the psychomotor. How can they transfer what they have put on paper into real world of work, which is the psychomotor. And the Montessori curriculums are pegged on the 3. And this is what CBC is talking about. Teachers have been taught about cognition, affection, and psychomotor. The only problem is the type of curriculum that we have: high scores, good grades, and so on. And that is why CBC, and please allow me to prosecute this one to my parent who's listening to me, as good as Nick here, who has a child in Standard 4. CBC removes learning from the scheme of work. By the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to list, to name. It takes learning into milestones, meaning that as I look at you today, Jeff and Nick, both of you talked at different times. One of you started speaking when you were 1 year, another one after 2 years. But by the end of it all, you are all very good speakers, and that's why you're journalists.
Yes.
So CBC looks at a milestone, meaning what is it that this child is good in? It's not all about getting D's in all the subjects and only an A in Kiswahili. How do we use that Kiswahili to make the best out of this child? And that is why in CBC, my dear listeners, there is no marking key. They use an assessment rubric. A rubric is very different from a marking key. A marking key, you either duplicated what the teacher told you, and it makes our children very timid, in fact, academic dwarfs. To assessing the abilities of the child. What did the child say? Why did the child say it this way? And how can we make it better? So CBC is the way to go because we have got the milestones and we have got the rubrics. The main reason, the main foundation being making the best out of every child. So the child is a winner, and you, the parent who has a CBC child, you too is a winner. We do not want to have the situation that we have today. We need to move Kenya towards industrialization. We speak about food security. How will we do it? Look at the CBC children at home. And many of you parents who are listening to me, you agree with me. They are planting maize in the balconies. That is what we want, They are repairing bicycles. There's a mother who told me her Standard 3 son can dismantle a bicycle and mount it again. This is China. Why should we go to China for standard gauge railway? We will do it here. So let us support CBC. It is the best thing that has ever happened to our country, Kenya.
Okay, just if you can break it down for some of us who don't even understand this. There are people out there who don't understand what CBC is, right? They just keep hearing CBC, CBC, CBC.
Yes.
But it's a 2-6-3-3 system, right?
Yes.
Explain those 2-6-3-3.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Jeff, for that question. That system is structured that way because in CBC we only have what we call knowledge areas. So those are knowledge categories. We have to get the PP1. You know, we cannot call it class 1, class 2 and still get a different result. We have got PP1 and PP2. That is the basic. You know, it's really the basic. And we already by that time we are removing it from cognition to bring it to experiential learning. You know, they have to experience the environment. I invite my listeners and also my hosts today to just read about the Montessori curriculum. It's experiential learning where these children have got to be given an opportunity to interact with the environment. And from there, we are able already to see the abilities of each and every child. That is why in CBC we have a portfolio. Nick, has your child come home with a portfolio?
Yeah, they come with them.
You see? But when did you yourself encounter a portfolio for the first time? Like Jeff, I can only imagine if somebody imposed Swahili on you when you were in school, what would have happened?
He was very good in Kiswahili.
We used to speak Latin.
Yes, so this is exactly what I'm talking about, because every parent, you know, you have a dream for your child.
Yes.
So CBC helps you realize that dream.
Okay, Daktari, some kids just want to play football all day. My son wants to be a professional footballer.
And that's good. And he belongs to CBC, but I know he's beyond the class.
Yes.
Yes, because I've read your book.
Yes.
Oh my, it's a beautiful one.
Thank you.
Yes. So and that is exactly, you know, this is the kind of education we are talking about. Jeff here believes that football is not a career. You know, it is. Look at Ronaldo today.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and that's what we have.
Just mentioned Ronaldo.
Yeah, we have a lot of Ronaldos. Yeah, we have got a lot of Ronaldos, a lot of Messis, back down in the villages, and these talents are just shut. You know, it's a light that is totally put off. So these are the things CBC is truly and so passionately trying to mitigate.
But you know, I've listened to you speaking, and I think also something you need to mention. Okay, this is just my observation.
Yes,
you know, back in the day, based on the system we went through, the 844, they really pushed on you are either number 1, 2,
number 2. Yes.
And I feel like that also messes around with the mental health of children, because you see, now once you feel like a failure, you start going through life thinking, oh, I was a D student, oh, I was number last, oh, and if you keep going on with that, we just have a generation of like 1 million children who don't believe in themselves, 1.5 million adults who are, propagating that negative energy.
You know, Nick.
Yes,
yes, you are. And I hope the minister is listening. He has to get you out of this place. You told me what you got in Form 4.
C-.
Oh, hallelujah, and you're proud of it. That means that during prize giving day, Nick's name was never heard. If you go to my village in Kakamega, prize giving day, anakleta hitembre, physics anakleta hitembre, mathematics, anakleta hitembre, history.
Yeah.
That's anakleta is a Nisuha name. Hitembre is one of our very indigenous names. But inside that class, there's a Brian Mercy like you. There's a Nick in that class who's very good at just English alone or just making noise in class. That's a good journalist. This is what 844 does to our children. It is very intimidating, it is humiliating, I would say. And for the same reason, that is why when it comes to third time, what happens to schools? There are a lot of fires around, because it's very authoritarian. It creates a lot of adrenalines. It's either you know or you do not know. And in that way, even the children themselves lose motivation, As you're driving home with your child who never got a prize, what are you carrying in that car? And what type of conversation are you having? So CBC is getting us from there. 844 has already created the cluster. These are the winners and these are the losers. And that's why CBC is trying to, not actually trying, it has managed to show the world that it's not only how much mathematics you can calculate, but it is how much noise you can make in class. That's a good journalist. That's a good comedian.
But there are challenges, no doubt, Dr. and you have to admit it. Here's a message from our colleague. His name is Alex Murungi, okay? He got this letter from his school. Dear parent, we have been learning about different life cycles. We will be having an in-house class presentation, and then they give the date. Kindly dress your child as a butterfly, flower, caterpillar, or bee.
CBC, I said from the beginning that it's informed by a philosophy known as constructivism, meaning you have to construct, you have to discover, you have to explore, because it's about critical thinking, problem solving, and the transferability. So if we just stick to what we have been doing without going out there, look at Nick. I'm sure Nick has learned from is it a daughter or a son?
No, but I like arts generally since I was a kid, so putting those things together.
And then simple. Also, just having that child in CBC has also made you think out of the box. And that's what the type of learners that we need in classes.
Okay.
In my village, and I love my village of Kakamega, they should ask the children for tiswa. You know tiswa? These ones that
kumbe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we are speaking about one and the same thing. While the schools in Nairobi will ask a child to draw a fridge, the one down in Bukusu should ask the child to draw a water pot. It serves the same purpose. They all give us cold water. And that is why it is important to understand that CBC is context-based. Let us begin with what we have within our environment. Then it enables that child to jump into the high-scope curriculum. Because from knowing that the cold water is found in a clay pot, moving into the city, into college, they get to know that the same cold water can be found in a fridge.
20 years from now, 30 years from now, are we going to regret that we got into the 2633 like we did the 844?
Maybe let me address this one from a curriculum expert viewpoint. I would like my Kenyans and my fellow Kenyans to know that, people talk about CBC as if it is just something that came out of the blues. Every country has got an institution that is mandated, to develop curriculum, implement it, monitor it, and evaluate it. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development is the same one that developed the 844, which everybody seems to say was the best. It is the same one that developed the previous. So down the line, 20 years, 30 years from now, KICD assessed the first curriculum that we had, looked at the assessment needs of 844 vis-a-vis what the society needs. And that is why they came up with the CBC. So down the line, we are going to see the fruits of CBC because we only have a cohort, So let's give them time to live a full circle. And I keep on saying this. Many of the parents who are graduates at home and I don't mean to demean them, who do not have jobs and they have their children in CBC, those children will begin earning a living before even that parent who's at home still waiting for an office job with a certificate having A stars from the 844 system. So let's be patient. Let's work together. Challenges within this system doesn't mean it has failed. It would not have gone for these 5 years if it was a failure. We would all be on the streets, but we are not. The children themselves are very happy with CBC. The parents are happy with CBC. Let's give it time to live a full cycle. For those of us who are planning to go to court, okay, it's good to go to court, and that's where we find justice. But I'm just making a reminder to you that what is going on in CBC is not a matter to be prosecuted in court. We don't take challenges to court, we handle challenges. These are issues, what we call curriculum gaps. So the judges cannot be able to handle the curriculum gaps. We need dialogue for us to get solutions to these teething problems. And it is very normal, even where we are. I'm in a media house today. They should be having challenges. They've not closed doors. They find ways of handling those challenges. So together, let's handle these challenges. But CBC is the best way to go.
Thank you very much.
CBC is the way to go. Thanks so much, Dr. Ari. Appreciate it. All the very best.
Thank you.
Dr. Jane Imbunya there, Senior Lecturer, Gaborone University, College of Law and Professional Studies, talking about this CBC. Let's see how it goes. I mean, we'll be the judge, and I hope we'll be around 30 years from now.
I will be. You, on the other hand.
No doubt what we call.
Candid interviews with decision makers. The Hot Breakfast. Weekdays 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Hot 96.